Cash-a-maniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
Welcome to GeoGearHeads. This is a weekly show about geocaching and geolocation games. Maybe you've tried a new one just this week. I am the bad cop with our host, Daryl W4.
And thanks, Chris, for that introduction. And we've got someone online here who's really got some awesome caches. So lullabye4u risked driving over down power lines and everything to get to the show tonight. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot. And in a Mini Cooper, no less.
Well, that's actually a little bit better because then you have the nimbleness to get over those down lines better.
Exactly, but not that ground clearance.
No, this is true.
Yeah, but the line's like pretty low to the ground. Now, I think the short wheelbase, you might actually be able to connect a couple of those lines together. But anyway, that's not why we're here. Thank you. You probably made one of the bigger efforts to be on the show tonight, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's an honor.
Well, Daryl, do you mind if we just kick off? First, there's an email. This comes from, we were trying to think how to pronounce this. It's Lee exclamation point. He could be French. It could be Lee exclamation point. Or it may be Lee Bang. Or he could just be Lee. Either way, he emailed us because he's got a really sharp ear. He said, was listening to last week's podcast and heard Daryl say he wanted to run a pocket query and not pick up Canadian caches. Ben said the only way on the new search, the only way was on the new search, but that's not true. The ability to restrict pocket queries to a certain state has been around for years. When building the pocket query, you set the center, the radius, and then mark within section to Michigan or wherever you happen to be. Then you'll only get caches in Michigan and nothing in Canada.
Well, thanks a lot, Lee. This was exactly what I was looking for at the time. I still like the polygons. That would be really, really cool. But I don't know how I missed that all these years, and I think it's because the logical order seems to be a little bit off to me. In the standard pocket query, it doesn't work in the caches along a route. It's just the standard pocket query. You have a within section, and it's just above that origin, that from origin. So it's pretty cool, and it allows you to limit for countries or states and provinces. It's the same list that they have for just about everything else. So very, very, very cool.
Daryl, you mentioned polygons. What would be the name of the polygon that fits the glove shape of Michigan?
Michigan?
Oh, okay.
So we mentioned lullabye4u has some really cool caches, and we're going to start off with some of her puzzle boxes that she's designed. And one of the really cool things was she has a PDF of all of these designs, and that's going to be available for download. So head over to the show notes and take a look at those, download it, open it up, and you might want to take a look at those while we're going over these caches. Now,
especially if you're driving in a car.
Yes. Yeah,
go ahead and open up that PDF and start looking at it.
Sure.
Only if you're going over down power lines.
Oh, okay. Well,
yes, it has to be that.
I thought it was
limit a lot of our listeners.
I thought it was when you were on autopilot in your Tesla.
That didn't go well last time.
No, but probably better than if you're staring at a PDF and you don't have autopilot.
Oh, you could probably open it on the screen in the Tesla.
Ooh.
See it.
Ooh. Okay, does a Tesla have an autopilot to maybe solve these puzzle boxes?
Ooh. We may have gotten off track. I'm not sure, though.
We may have.
and
maybe autopilot did, too.
Yay.
I don't think there is a pilot.
In any case, when I looked a few weeks ago at your caches, you had something like 7 caches with at least 10 favorite points. And more remarkable than that is that 2 of these caches that we're talking about tonight were not in that group of 7 with 10 or more. So you're putting out some caches that are getting a lot of favorites.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky, I guess, that I've come up with a couple of ideas, and I'm fortunate enough. I'm a tool designer. I work for a powdered metal facility, and so I have that awesome CAD at my fingertips. And obviously, as I'm falling more and more in love with this game that is taking over my life, geocaching, I continue to think of, just be inspired by other people's caches, and hey, what if I kind of took that idea and went this direction with it, or I want to do something like that. And it's nice because in the 3D modeling software, I can take, I can design it, see what it's going to look like, and I'm fortunate enough that my geo partner and best friend, Kaput 360, is a machinist. So I get the blueprints together, I hand them to him, and then he hands me back my creation. So it's the teamwork, obviously just communicating with each other, knowing what will work, what won't work, kind of figuring those things out slowly. I've only been doing this 2 years, but it's been 2 full years of as I said, falling in love with this game. I don't think there's any other game out there any other hobby that will change your entire perception of the world the way geocaching will. And yeah, so these puzzle boxes, they're definitely my favorite of the caches that I've put out because they have my heart in them. They're just fun boxes. I wish more people got out to see them. But that's part of geocaching, is you don't always know what you're getting yourself into till you're out there in the woods. And yeah, I mean the Battle with the Jabberwocky is probably my favorite box. I think it might be the first one on the PDF, the page one, which is like the chessboard. It's probably the most intricate, and we had to really kind of, yeah, that's it. We had to think through that one a lot. I had an Alice in Wonderland series of caches I just put out, and obviously inspired by the book and the movie and such, I knew that I wanted moving chess pieces to be the puzzle somehow, trying to figure out how to get the log sheet and people to reset the box and it be corrosive resistant and tamper resistant. I don't ever want anybody to be able to go out and with an Allen wrench or a screwdriver or a Leatherman break into these boxes if we can help it. We want to make them work for it. We don't want them to be able to look up on Google and find the answer. I try to always find a little bit of a spot off the beaten path, that there's a down tree or a log, someplace that they can rest and, ponder the box in private without muggles sneaking up on them. So I usually try to choose a greenway location, but well off the path. And I also like to keep these close to home. I mean, I just feel like if there was ever an issue with maintenance or, a concern that, hey, I think I solved the box and I couldn't get the log sheet, then I would know, okay, I can just jump in the car right after work and go look and see what's going on there.
That's very responsible.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the materials, and these 4 that you've given us in this PDF and that we're talking about tonight are all machined out of, it looks to me like aluminum. Is that correct?
That is correct. We went with aluminum.
Brass fittings?
Brass fittings. Yeah, like I said, Kaput 360, he's my expert go-to, but we tried our best to come up with materials that are going to be able, God forbid, the seal in the ammo box gives way, and this thing fills up with water, we want our box to be salvageable.
Yeah, so this is not the kind of stuff that you can just build at home necessarily. You know, I assume most people don't have a metal shop at home.
Right. Yeah, the Haas, our tool room, has a mill that we were able to borrow. Yeah, so it worked out well for everyone.
In this particular box, how many hours did it take you to create this?
As far as design-wise, I probably had, I always try to keep everything real standard, you know, half-inch here, inch there, just making it easy on him to machine it. I think the biggest grief we had out of this box, one of the sections, it got thin, so we had like a separation of the aluminum. It wasn't flat anymore. It kind of bowed. So we had to make a little bit of adjustments there, but I think the box itself, it got built pretty quickly. As far as design, I would say maybe 10 hours, and as far as build, I'm looking over at Kaput 360. He's saying 8 hours. He probably got it done in 8 hours. So we got it out there in a week. And one of the biggest griefs about this box, I couldn't find chess pieces that I was happy with. I wanted, you know, sturdy pieces that, you know, weren't going to, I didn't want the king to lose his crown within the first week. So I wanted chunky pieces, but they needed to still be plastic so that I could fill them with the JB weld and put a threaded stud on the bottom of them to secure them in the box.
Now, talk us a little bit through how you would go about opening this box up. You know, because it looks to me, just from the photos, that you're sliding these pieces around, and you have to get them in a specific order.
Exactly. Well, what you can't see so much of in the box is each one of those pieces has as I said, the stud extrudes from the bottom, and they have a certain diameter brass shim on the bottom, and you can kind of see it there in section DD on the print. There's different sizes, like one's 3/8, one's a half-inch. Oh, Kaput 360 says I'm talking to a designer on you. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm just kind of describing. One piece will only fit, right, you could take the smallest piece there on the top in section DD on the print. If you took that tallest piece with the smallest base there, it would go in the biggest hole, but then the biggest hole wouldn't have a home. Till all 6 of those pieces are in the correct slot on the far side of the box, the log sheet will not roll forward and it will not release. Wow. It will interfere with the rolling of the ball to pull the log out.
Wow.
Now, what you can't see is the solution on that. We had to engrave on the other end in the picture our symbols. And the way to solve this box, big spoiler here, is like one is an X, one is a T, one is an L. So the solution to the box, because you can't see those diameters in the bottom, how they fit in there, that's all hidden from view, you have to match the symbol to the way that particular chess piece is allowed to move on a standard chessboard.
Oh, interesting.
So this doesn't seem like it really was as complicated as it might appear if it only took 10 hours to engineer. But how tough is it for people to actually reset it?
Well, actually, I have not had any issues, and that's what I tried to do at first. When I first designed this box, I tried to make it where I could lift the lid, flip it 180, and it be ready for the next player. But the logistics of that was a nightmare. So I've asked people to put I've got a a laminated, glued plaque inside the ammo box asking, the particular finder to reset for the next person so that they can enjoy the box too. And that is true of like 2 of my different boxes, I think, and I have never had a single person go out and find the box not reset. And I kind of think the same is true for all of us. If we work to solve a box, we don't want the very next person that comes in behind us to be able to just walk up and sign the log sheet. We want them to work for it just as hard as we did.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Daryl.
I think Daryl's left us.
Well, Daryl, that was very well said. Thank you. Now I see that this is a recent placement of this cache in March of this year.
That's one of the problems.
Oh, maybe? Nope. He just dropped off. I'm so sorry, Daryl. So it hasn't had that many finders, but what kind of feedback have you gotten on those who have found it?
I have gotten such great, amazing feedback from people. Kaput 360 and I, we just sit around, and it makes it feel so good because the people that are finding it, they're like, I wish I had more favorite points than 1 point to award to this cache. And that makes me walk back and go, yes, that's what I wanted people to feel like. I wanted them to, they go out and sign a log and walk back to their car and they get the smiley, but I wanted that feeling that when you get the smiley, that's great. But when you have an experience, that's even better.
Well, cool. Do you have any idea how long it's taking people to solve this particular box?
Surprisingly, I don't think on this box I've had anyone ask for a hint or help.
Okay.
I think it's a case of, I think our little hobby here, it kind of, it leans towards the nerds and the geeks and the more egghead of our society, and I think a lot of us, for the most part, understand chess, and so I think it's just a matter of time, once they see those symbols and the chess pieces, which are the only things that stick out on the box as far as getting attention, they start matching things up in their head and they get that log sheet.
Geeks, nerds, and eggheads, I think you perfectly described me.
I describe myself too, so don't be offended.
Limax in the live Q&A says that he loves the look of the squares on the chessboard, but wanted to know if you can reset the pieces in any order.
Yes, they will. On the beginning side of the board, any piece will go in any order. So they can go wherever. So you can definitely make it harder. You can take it, if you know the solution on the other side of the board, you could put it on the furthest point. For some people, really have to work to travel to get over there. And the cool thing about this box, though, is if you move one and you get it in the wrong spot and you realize it, you may have to move other pieces out of the way to get it out of that slot. So it's kind of labor intensive, but I think it's worth it in the end. I would love to find something out in the woods like this, and that's what I try to. Me and Kaput 360 both feel that way, that we try to make the caches that we wish we could do.
That's a good way to design puzzles. Now let's take a look at the down the rabbit hole cache that you kind of hinted at before with the Alice in Wonderland theme, and this one looks like it's probably pretty similar.
Yeah, it is very similar. The thing I am really, really excited about on this particular box was the engraving. You see the picture of Alice there. You can kind of see it on my blueprint, but you see it more in the actual photo. Alice and the White Rabbit. What Kaput was able to do was take an end ball mill, right? Is that how you did that? A ball-end mill, and I was able to give him the line art of like her face and her ribbon and her hair and that kind of thing, and he was able to etch that into the plexiglass that covers the top of the box. Yeah, and the rabbit is inverted on the left side if you're like looking
Oh
at it. So
yeah.
he's upside down, and so because the way this puzzle works, you can flip it 180 degrees and solve it, and flip it over again and solve it. So this one was resettable naturally, so I don't have to rely on the finder to reset it for the next user.
So how does this one get solved? Is it because it looks like each one of the characters can only go in one direction?
They can completely spin around 360 degrees. What you can't see, and because it's hidden by the cake topper pieces there that I got off eBay. Once again, we filled those with JB Weld, and then we put studs up in them and secured them. But what you can't see in those brass little top hats is there's grooves on them, and there's only one way. There's balls. We have 4 of those little. I think we used carbide, didn't we? Brass. Okay, those are brass balls. Okay, the brass balls there. There's only one orientation of the characters that will allow the ball to roll all the way through from one end to the other. There are also numbers like a dial on those characters on right underneath them, underneath the plexiglass. So when you hit the groove correctly, the ball will go straight through, and you look at those 2 numbers. Those 2 numbers, you have 4 pathways, and then I have one of those master lock boxes in the ammo can with this, with the dial, the 4 dial locks. And those 4 numbers go over, and you put those in the lock, and you open the container and get the log sheet out. And there's also room for swag in that one.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That one was meant to kind of be the top of the series, the final. But I'm still, my heart is still probably, if I had to pick a favorite, back with the battle with the Jabberwocky.
Yeah, I think that one is a better one. But just so that I am clear on how this one actually works, you're getting the numbers off the dials from those pieces to actually open the container that has the log sheet.
Right, yeah, and both the puzzle and the container are in the ammo can. So when you open the can, you see the locked box that obviously your log's in there. And I have a Alice in Wonderland passport is actually my log sheet in that, inside that locked box.
Very
so
cool.
you know, because at that point I figure everybody's earned their passport to Alice in Wonderland if they can get through that puzzle.
All right. Next one on the list is Amaze Balls.
Yes.
Okay, this was the one that you actually have the most favorite points on, and that was at 18 last time I looked.
Yeah, that one's definitely fun, definitely different. I wanted to design a. Actually, we do something at our. This one, Kaput 360 chimed in that this one is actually his favorite. What we did, we once again with the ball, we do an operation at our facility called a ballizer, and when a hole is undersized and like a through hole, it comes out too small after center, we'll take a ball and we'll just pretty much ram it through the part to resize the hole. Well, he had been working on doing some ballizing fixtures out there in the machining department, and it got me thinking, you know what would make a good geocache is like one where you could kind of play with getting a ball through a maze. And that's kind of where I got started with this idea. And the way you solve this one is, okay, so obviously there's holes in the plate, and when the ball goes through, when you flip it over, it could be a dead end, and you have to come back to the face that you were at previously. Well, if the ball goes through and continues to another through passage, then that's a good number. This is just like the down the rabbit hole, in that I have a separate container inside the ammo box that is locked. You're looking for a 4-digit code from solving how do you get this ball through this maze 4 times, and those 4 numbers of the holes are your solution to your box.
That's pretty amazeballs. I'm sitting here looking at it and trying to follow along. And like, okay, okay, I got that one, and but that's utterly amazing.
Thank you. I was really careful too. I didn't want. At first, I thought, you know what I got to do? I need to get on Instagram and Pinterest, and I need to look at all these other people's puzzles. I'm like, you know what? I have ideas. I don't want to redo somebody else's puzzle. I want to come from left field and try my own out first before I start copying or, looking at too many others. So I'd like to think that the ones that are out there are pretty unique and original. And, of course, I'm cool with people redoing my ideas. That's why I went ahead and, gave you guys blueprints. But at the same time, I wanted to try to be as original as possible without ripping somebody else's cash off.
Now, in the live Q&A, Limax is asking if the grooves make up the numbers. I'm seeing what looks like numbers as 7 segments.
The numbers are actually wrote over the through holes, so it's the passage to get to the other side, and then you turn the box 180 degrees and continue to solve it on the other side. So there's the plexiglass, the piece of aluminum, and a plexiglass piece on the other side. So this puzzle it's a 3D maze. You don't solve it all just face up. You flip it over, and if that pathway you chose is successful, then that through hole number right there is the first number of your dial, your first number on your 4-dialed box to access the log sheet.
Okay. So it is basically just like your standard ball labyrinth, but done as double-sided, and you just need to collect the numbers.
Correct.
As you get through.
Correct. And there's only one solution. That's a cool thing too about this box, that there's no other way. There's only one pathway that works. It's just you're statistically finding that right pathway the first time all the way through. I tried to give plenty of dead ends so that you had to work for it a little bit.
Nice. Devious, but nice. Now, the next one we want to talk about is it's all fun and games until someone divides by 0.
Yes, it was our first box.
Okay.
Well, this is the one that, looking at it got me the most excited, just because it's one of those that's completely hidden, and you just have to figure out how to get in. But I had no clue looking at the diagram or at the photos what I had to do.
It looked a bit like an overzealous trumpet.
Overzealous trumpet?
With all the keys on it there. There are more keys than on a trumpet, but...
Okay. It's that's kind of the reaction it seems that I get out of a lot of people. Like when they open the ammo can and they see this one, they're like, wow. But the solution to this particular box is the math. I give 2 examples at the bottom of the box on the engraving. And it's just a triangular, I think you add 2 numbers together and then you subtract another. So I gave you 2 examples for how these puzzles work. And then to the adjacent to each one of the pull pins is a puzzle. And I've told you even you push in and odd you pull out. So by arranging those pins, they have to be either in or out all the way down the side of that box, and that'll allow it to release or it won't. So if you're not correct with the box, you cannot pull that little brass knob that looks like a pawn there to access the inner compartment and get the lock sheet.
That really does look amazing. Now, how does the locking mechanism for the door work if it can be in or out?
Well, I don't really have a great view here to show you how elaborate that particular machine work was. I think Kaput 360 really probably judged whether or not he wanted to build any more boxes for me after this one. But okay, so if you look over there in that picture, in the top picture, so you see there those brass, the brass knobs on how there's some pushed in and some pulled out. Well, the way the mating piece lays over top of that, that's all machined out. If you don't have it all the way in, you don't clear it. If you don't have it all the way pushed forward, you don't clear it, if it's not meant to be. Yeah, I really needed to give you another sectional view here to see that locking mechanism, but just trust me that you will never get that box if their pins are all in, the pins are all out. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, maybe up there in that top left-hand view on the blueprint. You see how I have counter bores shown for 4 of the pins towards the bottom, and then there's 4 pins pushed in. I have counter bores. Well, if the pins are not in that orientation, the lid will not release.
So I'm thinking that the way this actually works is if the long pins are in the wrong order, or the pins are pushed in, it won't open because the bigger end would be in that slot.
Correct. There'll be interference, and the lid won't release.
So it's not like you could just pull them all out or push them all in.
Correct.
You have to have just the right order, even though the pins are identical.
Correct. And everything looks identical from the outside of the box. It's just you checking your math to confirm that your answer after doing the three numbers there, is your answer odd or is your answer even? And so you just do the simple math and place those pins left or, pushed in or pulled out, left or right. And if you're right, you get success. If you're wrong, then that lid will not lift.
That is just really, really cool. And unfortunately, I think this is going to be one of those shows where people are going to want to watch the video and download the PDF. You probably can't do both. Yeah, you probably can't do audio and the drawings only to get a good feel of what's going on here, because it really is a quite remarkable cache. Yeah, I would love to see one of these things around here. Yeah, not that we don't have some great hiders with some awesome puzzles, but this stuff is really amazing.
Thank you so much. They are near and dear to my heart, which is, comes to one of the issues with them. And, if you love something, set it free kind of thing. But these are our babies. And, I had to sit down and have a long, hard talk with myself that we are putting these out in the woods and we may never see them again because it's not just a case of an ammo can going missing. This is, our hard work and some of our heart put into these, and hopefully, they will continue to be there for years to come, but the day will probably arrive where I'll get notification that, Amazeballs has gone off to sit on someone's, fireplace mantle. And I just need to be prepared for that.
Well, and you were talking at the beginning of the episode that really you needed the machine shop to be able to produce these.
Correct.
My question would probably be, do you think it would be possible for someone to do something like a 3D printed version of it, or maybe even a version that's a wood or some kind of hybrid? Or would these
Absolutely.
designs need to be more durable?
No, I think that's a great idea. I think the only thing, only encouragement I would have is like keep it light. But the 3D printed, the things that we've seen, there's no weight to them. Um, I, I could absolutely see this in 3D printing.
Well, and then it would be a lot easier than sitting in the machine shop for 8 hours.
Yeah, to just sit in front of a 3D printer for 12 or 16 hours.
I was going to say, based on the size of these things, you're going to have a good size 3D printer as well.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing that that little 3D printer that you got at work, Chris, could do.
Well, if I did it in pieces, sure. But
you have to glue them together and hope that they don't come apart.
And you could make it smaller, but if you made it smaller, it would be more fragile. So, metal is really good. It's durable. It's strong. Aluminum is weather resistant, shall we say?
Sure.
So, I mean, those puzzles are going to last for years and years with zero maintenance.
Yeah, that's something too that I've been really happy and fortunate with, that we haven't had a single needs maintenance or, hey, I don't think something's working the way it should work. I kind of expected that to happen. I was worried about people trying to put, swag in where swag shouldn't go in the box, and or, God forbid, somebody, as I said earlier, taking a tool and trying to access the log sheet without solving it and disassembling it out of aggravation or frustration, those kind of things. But we've not had any issues. We've just gotten, love and respect, and everybody's taking care of them.
Nice. Now, on a couple of your designs, I did see screw heads. So what type of screws are you using just to discourage people?
Kaput 360 usually goes with the tamper-resistant screws.
Okay.
So, yeah, once they're installed and usually Loctite and that kind of thing. So, obviously anyone extremely determined could break into these boxes if they wanted, but we're going to make it hard on them up front.
And then Limax in the live Q&A suggested you might be able to make these at a makerspace, which is, I think, an awesome idea.
Mm-hmm.
He also says he thinks he needs to make a road trip to Tennessee to
Wait till we get our power lines back up.
Yeah. Well, it's a road trip. You'll have plenty of time.
Yeah, I would hope by the time he gets there, the power will be back on. But, Chris,
Yes.
you were talking about smaller ones being a little bit more fragile, and the thing that popped to mind immediately when you said smaller was, how cool would it be to do a series of LPCs?
Oh, there you go.
Puzzles like these.
That would
People
be great.
were not expecting it.
Yeah.
It would totally change the appreciation for LPCs with Sunny, at least.
There you go. Well, you could grab it, sit in your car, solve it, and then put it back. Putting back an LPC is usually the tough one because somebody else has pulled up.
Right.
And it's that screech, the screech.
Everybody around looks.
It's the lamp skirt tamper alert.
Yeah. But that's actually a great idea to take something like this and do it in a smaller 3D printed size to stick in a light pole.
Sure.
However, it wouldn't be water resistant. I mean, 3D prints aren't as tight as, say, a machine. Well, machined aluminum though wouldn't necessarily keep out water, would it?
No, none of them are like waterproof. I mean, we're using corrosion resistant, right? But
okay.
and all of them are located in ammo cans, but Yeah, if water got in there, it would get in the puzzle.
Which really wouldn't necessarily affect the puzzle.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, and the log is going to be in something else anyway that hopefully is watertight with
Right.
most of these.
Right.
So
And
yeah.
put the whole ammo can under a light post and do that.
Yeah. Well, but what you could do, I'm thinking, if you made a smaller 3D version of it, the first one we talked about, the Jabberwocky, that actually had what looked to me like a bison tube inside that actually comes out.
Correct.
So you could do something like that with just a very small nano even. You know, not that you'd want to go and change the log all the time, but you do something that's a really tiny container that is watertight to protect the log, and then again, as long as you're going to seal it to keep the plastic from having issues, because that is a problem with the 3D printed caches.
Right.
Then you should be able to just keep that log in good shape because that's watertight, and then the rest of the cache could get wet and not really be affected.
Oh, all the ideas now running through my head.
Yeah. And I don't know why, but I just came up with the thought of what if you did a cryptex that was in the shape of a rat?
A Rat-Tex?
A rat-tex, yes. What would people do
Why?
when you... Well, because you open it up and you see a giant rat sitting there.
What if you had a small Cryptex inside of a big rubber rat?
Well, yeah, you could do that too. But that would be easier.
You rat.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing all of these ideas with us. Before we let you go, is there anything that you think people should keep in mind if they're going to be designing this that we haven't mentioned?
Like I said, just keeping the weight down on the boxes makes them more manageable. Keeping within a footprint of the ammo can. I made a little bit of error in the battle with the Jabberwocky. When we did not like the original chest pieces, I did not account for larger chest pieces, so when I got ones I liked, it would no longer fit in the ammo box. So we had to go find one of those jumbo oversized ones, and that was a little bit of an adventure because we got to looking at where we usually get our ammo cans, and they were out of stock. And anyways, found one off eBay. So just the keeping the weight down, staying within a certain size, and just making sure it's sturdy. I mean, if it's well built and well designed, hopefully you're not going to have issues. And just use your imagination, because that's the cool thing. If you can draw it and you have someone that can build it for you, the sky's the limit.
Terrific. Thank you very much, and thank you also for giving us several suggestions of other cachers to talk with that have had really great hides that have influenced you.
Absolutely. Those are the guys that, keep or definitely drug me into this game more and more by finding their caches.
Yeah, and that's what this kind of show is all about, is we want to hopefully inspire people to think about cool containers that they can build, get some ideas. Of course, we don't want people taking these drawings that you have and just going and building them. This is the inspiration.
Right.
And also for
Thank
anyone...
you so much.
Oh, thank you again. And for anyone who's listening or watching us, if you have someone in your area who's hidden some really amazing caches, they don't necessarily need to be puzzles, just really good caches, let us know. We'll get in touch with them, and hopefully we can have them on the show. And also, we really appreciate it when people spread the word of our shows to their fellow cachers, because that's the best way to find great information. And hopefully they'll pick it up, enjoy it, and subscribe to us as well.
Certainly. Well, Daryl, you've done incredible work in scheduling the next several shows. We're looking at July 14th. It's just 1 week away. And we're talking with geocaching.com about their guidelines. The week after that, July 21st, we're talking GPSR versus smartphone. And we've got two advocates, one for each platform, that are going to duke it out. I don't know how you're going to control them, to be honest with you. July 28th, we're doing one of my favorite, the randomized shows. And finally, on August 4th, we're doing smartphone caching. And we'll give you some updates on great smartphone applications and how to use that well.
Yeah, and definitely not the last of the show, so make sure to check out the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearhead shows, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. GeoGearheads is produced by Chris Offenauer and Daryl Wanberg. This show is copyright 2016 by Daryl Wanberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.